The largest heist in American history just ended. No grand finale, no arrest, just silence. It's January 17th, 1950. A green Brink's armored truck sits idling on Prince Street in Boston's North End. Inside, $2, $775, $395 in cash and securities. 7 armed guards are counting the day's haul. Then, one by one, 11 masked men walk through the door and walk out with nearly $3 million in under 20 minutes. The guards never fired a shot. No alarms sounded. No one was supposed to be there at all. Now here's where the story gets strange. Most people know the Brink's robbery as a legendary unsolved case, a masterpiece of criminal planning that vanished into legend. But that narrative, it's incomplete. The robbery itself was solved, arrests were made, convictions stuck, yet somehow the money never surfaced. Not a single bill, not a single bond. Billions in today's dollars gone without a trace. The real mystery isn't who did it, it's where it went. Let's rewind to what made the job possible in the first place. The Brink's company itself, a household name in armored transport, had security that looked impenetrable on paper. Multiple guards, locked gates, alarm systems. But here's what nobody talks about: familiarity breeds carelessness. The same guards worked the same routes on the same schedule. The same trucks, the same timing. Someone was watching. Someone was taking notes. The men who planned this heist weren't amateurs. They'd done smaller jobs before, warehouse jobs, payroll jobs. But this was the score that would set them up for life. They had inside information. One theory suggests a Brink's employee tipped them off about the layout, the timing, the exact moment when the vault would be accessible. That detail matters because it explains the precision. No wasted motion. No panic. On the night itself, the operation moved like clockwork. 11 men entered through the Prince Street side. They knew the guard rotation. They knew which doors locked and which didn't. They moved upstairs to the counting room where the cash was being processed. Guns drawn, orders shouted. The guards, outnumbered and outmaneuvered, complied. No shots fired. No heroics, just compliance and fear. They stuffed the cash into bags, all of it in under 20 minutes. Then they vanished. The police response was immediate but already too late. By the time authorities arrived, the men were gone. The truck was abandoned blocks away. And here's the first red flag. Despite the largest manhunt in Boston's history, no significant amount of the money was ever recovered. Not weeks later. Not years later. Never. The FBI got involved. They interviewed everyone: employees, associates, known criminals in the Boston underworld. And slowly the pieces came together. By 1956, 6 years later, they had names, they had evidence. They arrested 11 men, including a career criminal named Tony Pino and his crew. But here's what skeptics miss. The convictions weren't based on recovered money. They were based on circumstantial evidence, witness testimony, and a confession that came with conditions. The trials were sensational. Newspapers ran daily updates. The public was captivated. Guilty verdicts came down. Prison sentences were handed out. Pino and his associates went away for decades. But the money, still missing, and that's when the official narrative started to crack. If the robbers had the cash, where was it? If they'd spent it, why couldn't investigators trace even a fraction of it? One theory emerged: the money never left Boston. It was hidden, buried, bricked up in walls, stashed in safe houses. The robbers couldn't spend it without drawing attention, so they waited. They served their time, and they planned to retrieve it after release. Except some of them never got out. Some died in prison. Some were killed by associates. The map to the money, if it ever existed, died with them. But there's a darker possibility that courtroom observers noticed early on. What if the money was split among law enforcement? It sounds like conspiracy fiction until you look at the evidence. The investigation moved slowly. Convictions took years. Some officers had sudden lifestyle changes: new cars, new houses, no clear source of income. Nothing proven, nothing prosecuted, but enough to raise questions. The counterarguments worth hearing. Law enforcement corruption on that scale would have required dozens of people to stay silent for decades. That's a lot of loose ends. That's a lot of people who'd have motive to flip, to confess, to cut a deal. Yet none did, which doesn't prove innocence. It just means if it happened, it was extraordinarily well compartmentalized. Another theory, simpler and perhaps more plausible: the robbers did bury it, and it's still there. Somewhere in Boston, under decades of development, in a basement or a wall or a cemetery plot, sits nearly $3 million. Some amateur treasure hunters have tried to find it. Metal detectors, ground-penetrating radar, old maps, nothing. But absence of evidence isn't evidence of absence. What we know for certain, the money left the Brink's facility. It never arrived anywhere else that we can document. The men convicted of the theft never spent it visibly. And 70 years later, it remains missing. That's not a mystery in the sense of we don't know who did it. It's a mystery in a more unsettling sense. We know who took it, we know roughly how much, and we have absolutely no idea what happened next. The Brink's robbery reveals something about how we solve crimes and how we fail at it. We celebrate the arrest. We celebrate the conviction. We tell ourselves justice is served. But when the real prize, the money, the motive, the full truth remains out of reach, we've only solved half the puzzle. And in fraud and theft, half a solution is just another deception. If you want to understand how criminals think, how institutions fail, and how the gap between conviction and truth can swallow millions of dollars, subscribe. There's a new unsolved case every week, and each one rewrites what you thought you knew about crime. Subscribe, there's a new unsolved case every week, and each one rewrites what you thought you knew about crime.